Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Frontera Radio. I am your host, Sergio Mora. This is our second episode of our, I guess we could call it, new season 2.0, the relaunch, post-pandemic Frontera Radio. And I have a very special guest with us today. As you know, there's a very big, important mayor's race going on. Pete Science is termed out, so there's an open seat for mayor. There's like 8 to 10 candidates. I think they drew for the place on the ballot this past week, and one of those candidates who's making a lot of noise. He has been making a lot of noise for a while. He's very popular on social media, has a very big following, very opinionated. I'd like to welcome to the program Mr. Poncho Casso. Poncho, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm Poncho Casso, and I'm running for mayor, and I'm glad to be here with you this afternoon so that I can share my platform, my vision, and what it is that's at stake this during this election, because a lot is at stake.
Definitely, Poncho. Well, I mean, when I was thinking about getting everything back up, my studio back up and running, I knew immediately one of the first people I have to get on there is Poncho Casso. I follow you on Facebook, and I read a lot of the stuff that you write. Most of the stuff that you write, I've read, and I agree with a lot of it. Not with all of it, but even with the stuff I don't agree with, you make me think. You make people think.
Yeah.
And I think that's desperately needed in this city. And more than anything, I think that the issues that you care the most about are the issues that I've cared the most about for years now. And I think that this election needs to be framed along those debates, along those issues. I think that all the problems that we face as a city, no matter what they are, I think that they all stem from this original problem that we have, which is just the corruption, the
pervasive
nepotism.
Corruption. Yeah, it's
exactly.
That's really the problem, not only in Laredo, but at the state level, the federal level, international level. Corruption is really posing a grave risk at our national, security, our economic security. Yeah, I've never seen it as bad as it is now. It was bad. It's been, I've been in politics now since the '90s, and actually I was getting involved in the '80s when I started writing letters to the editor. But I got elected in '94 to '98. But something's happened after the pandemic. It's like people just don't care anymore. I mean, I'm talking about our elected officials. They're just ripping us off. What they're doing is they're making us poorer as a community with the decisions. And so what I've been trying to do is expose it and then oppose, these, I call them leeches that are making us poorer as a community, and then propose solutions. And I want this campaign to be about solutions. I want people to focus on the solutions instead of making it a personality-driven type campaign. And most people that do that, most candidates that do that, is because they don't have any solutions. And my slogan is solutions over politics. But for the last 4 years, I've been exposing the corruption. I put evidence out there. And my opponents, quite frankly, and I don't really want to talk about them, I just want to say one thing: they've been hiding under a rock. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they want to be mayor? I don't think so. It doesn't work like that. I've been out there for 4 years fighting for this community. And these guys just all of a sudden they step up to the plate and they want to be mayor. And I've seen their platform, and they don't have any major solutions. And today I'd like to talk about some of my platform proposals that I have that I think that I'm excited about, and I want to share with the community, because I think it will really reform government if we do a lot of the things that I'm proposing.
Poncho, what are you've been writing a lot. You write these long, detailed, well-researched sort of, I guess,
sometimes too long.
Sometimes too long.
My mother tells me they're too long. So
they're good reading.
I've been trying to shorten them up a little bit so people will. But sometimes, it's kind of like a diary of what's been going on for 4 years. So, if you want to go back and see what's been going on for 4 years, it's all there. And I stopped just going after exposing just the city and the county. I've been going after the schools, and let me tell you, the corruption in the schools. That the enthusiasm there is more intense. I think I have a lot of support from the teachers now, but boy, they're not the folks in that government entity. They're not scared to speak out like they are with the city and the county, but they're very quiet, right? But when it comes to the schools, boy, there's anger out there.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that because I'm gonna right after you, we're gonna have a show with a few candidates that are running for a UISD school board. Among them, the very well respected Bobby Santos, who he and a few others are carrying that same message, and I think something happened along the way, especially with UISD, where there was a changing of the guard and things just went off the rails.
Yeah.
And you've written extensively about that, and not only you, there's a lot of people in the community that are outraged. And I personally, when I first heard about it, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is just
I saw you on Beyond the Headline News. You had George Auget as your dad, and it was my brother-in-law who hired George Auget to expose it, and I already had it, and I told him don't do it just yet, because the goal is to stop him.
Of course.
And they didn't stop him. They burned him, but they didn't stop it because they went back and kept the contract. And we're talking about Rick Rodriguez, giving himself. They've already paid him over $500,000.
Well, that's the thing.
It's a shell company. It doesn't even. There's no location for it.
Well, that's the thing in that, and I think that I think, okay, that the issue of the contract is it's mind blowing, bizarre. It's like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. But then for them, after everybody has heard about it, they schedule a vote to rescind the contract, and the majority of the board votes to keep it.
Yeah,
like it's in your face, like we don't care.
And then his wife is running for city council, so you wonder if I get elected mayor. And these people, that's why I think it's so important this community elect me, because I'm the last line of defense. And it's something I always say, I'm the only thing between the wolf at your door. And the wolf is already at your door.
Yeah.
It's trying to get inside your house.
Yeah.
And all I'm trying to do is stop the bleeding. And I want to give this, look, I started this Robin Hood initiative. And I was going to get the signatures and create a referendum. But if I get elected, I'm going to try to do it from inside.
Yeah.
And if the council doesn't go along, then I'll have the bully pulpit. I'll just have some town hall meetings, get the signatures, and we'll put it on a referendum. And that is, it is probably one of the most aggressive and progressive reform packages of trying to reform the city charter. And one of the things I want to do is give the 65-year-olds no more tax. And I want all the other entities to follow my lead. Can you imagine if in the state of Texas we're the only city that does not tax the 65-year-olds?
Okay.
It would be great. But people say, well, how are you going to pay for it? Well, I'm going to pay for it by taking away their slush funds. They borrow $8 million every year. And what do they do with the money? Go down Clark, they have metal cactuses. There's an $800,000 bronze of Tomas Sanchez. Where is it?
Oh, the $800,000 statue, yeah.
Where is it? I want to know. They have a replica, a model of it at City Hall. It's beautiful. But where's the life size? And I can go on and on.
The discretionary funds you're referring to, right?
Yeah, they borrow $1 million every year. They should each of them. So it's a total of $8 million. After 4 years, it's $32 million. Yeah. $32 million. You could have already finished the loop.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to focus on repairing the water, making the proper investments. And some of the folks that are running right now, well, they've been there for 4 years and they haven't done anything. And they expect us to believe them. And not only that, you're going to need some type of an auditing system. And that's one of the things that I'm proposing. That, okay, you're going to fix the water problem, but who's going to make sure that they're putting the right PVC pipes underground?
That's right.
That's how they rip us off. They steal through the contracts.
Yeah.
They don't put what we paid for. For example, I had to file an open records request, and they're fighting me because they don't want to tell me how they got scammed $1.1 million. Remember they got scammed in the internet?
Yeah, we talked about that.
What were they buying? Everybody wants to know what they were buying because I don't. I buy a lot of stuff on the internet. In fact, I do all my shopping on the internet, and I've never been scammed. So, unless you're going to some porn sites.
Some shady.
What are you doing?
Shady Nigerian princess.
And so the corruption needs to end. They buy property that's overvalued. And, you know, I was telling you that I'm about to sue the council probably next week or the next week, right after the Labor Day. I'm going to file. In fact, I was at the county courthouse right now, and I'm going to file pro se, and I'm going to file a lawsuit to remove their pension plans. It really outrages me. It makes me so angry that they gave themselves a pension plan, and when people are suffering in this community,
so
even
okay.
if they weren't, it's just not right.
So let me get this straight. So these guys are there for 1 term, 4 years, maybe 2 terms, 8 years. And they go to city council meetings once every 2 weeks, and
It's like 3 times a month.
They cut ribbons and they sit in on meetings. I mean, it's not all fun.
Yeah,
it's not all fun. They do stuff,
especially with these guys, because they don't even return calls. Okay,
that is a big problem that I heard. But for just doing that, which is an honor, which I remember, I think you weren't paid as a councilman.
No, when I was there, we got paid $500 a month.
$500 a month.
It was $6,000 a year.
It's an honor. It's
now they make $50,000, and now they voted themselves a pension plan.
It's public service.
It's unbelievable.
So they're there for 8 years, going to a couple of council meetings here, and I'm sure that there's some council members.
You and I are going to have to pay them for the rest of their life a pension.
A pension, which is what, like $1,500 a month. Is what I heard.
So that's what former Raul Salinas called me to complain. He says, Poncho, you got to do something about it. And I hope he's getting well, because I understand he had a stroke.
I actually spoke with him today.
How's he doing?
And he's doing well. He's in rehab.
Good.
This is the first that anybody's heard. He had a stroke like at 6:30 in the morning at his house. He passed out on the floor of his bathroom. They didn't get to him. The police got there at 7. His daughter was calling.
The watch, you need to have the watch.
Yeah.
To say if you have it on and you have that feature, si te caes, it calls 911 if you fall.
Well, he needed one of those.
I texted Ricky Cigarro, and he said he was doing better, but that was a week ago.
He had a stroke apparently.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't a heart attack, I understand.
Yeah, no, he said a stroke, and he's in rehab, and he's getting better.
Well, he called to complain about it. He said, you got to do something. I said, don't worry, Mayor. I'm gonna file a suit, because it's illegal what they did, the way they did it. And I want the public, I want to show them not only the evidence, but how they schemed to do it. Mm-hmm. In fact, I got to give him credit, because it was very ingenious.
Clever.
It was like evil geniuses, the way these guys did it, you know?
And we were talking about it, and there's a big issue, and I think it runs. It's a current that runs along many of the scandals. Is like there's legally it's defensible, but that doesn't mean it's right, man.
Yeah, just because it's legal doesn't make it ethical.
Exactly.
But in this case, I'm going to prove that it's illegal.
Well, I mean,
under the way the charter's written,
yeah.
You can't do it. And I want judicial guidance. I want the judge to tell me. And if for some reason the political solution doesn't kick in, the legal, then the political solution will kick in, because I'll put it on a referendum. We'll put it in the charter where you cannot give yourself a pension.
Yeah, that's insane, because they get a pretty hefty. They make more than full-time employees.
Yeah.
Do at the school districts or whatever, yet they're not full-time. I mean, I know that, look, and there's some really good councilmen and councilwomen that by all means deserve like the salary they're making. They go above and beyond, and they want to do the right thing. But a lot of these dudes, man, they don't even deserve a salary. Now, from our tax monies, they're going to be getting a pension for the rest of their lives, man. This is just insane.
It's insane. There's no way we're taking it away from them. They're crazy. I mean, and then they think that I'm the one that's the bad guy here, right?
Yeah.
And then they're over there in Mexico City on this binational park. You know, it sounds nice, but we don't have the money right now.
Yeah, you've written a lot about that.
Who are they kidding?
Yeah.
You know, who are they kidding? We don't have the monies. We need to focus on our water issues, stop the bleeding, all the corruption. I want to freeze taxes for everybody else by using the no new revenue rate. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to do. There was an article in the paper yesterday that came out saying that the county was lowering taxes by 2 cents. So I called the appraiser to see if he had the tax calculation worksheets before I write something, because I always want to see the numbers. And he and I agree that the only reason they lowered it to 38 cents is they had to by law. If not, it would trigger an election. But I need the numbers to be able to present it, because I bet you they didn't use the no new revenue rate. And if you don't use, which it used to be called the effective tax rate, and if you don't use that rate, then you really aren't freezing taxes. Yeah. You're not lowering taxes. You see, these guys think that if you use the same tax rate as last year, or you lower by a few cents, you're lowering taxes. You're not really lowering it completely, because the appraisals went up so much. The only way you will is if you use the no new revenue rate. That's what you have to use. And they don't do that. So they're always poking everybody in the eyes. So I want to freeze taxes. Another thing I want to do, and I've spoken to Patricia Barrera about it, is I want to do what Barrett County does in San Antonio, what Nueces County in Corpus does, Travis County in Austin. They get one tax bill. Here you get four. You get LISD, UISD, the city, and then the county. And the county collects for
Laredo College too.
Yeah, well, they collect for... Okay. The county collects for Laredo College. I want the county to do it all. Yeah. Do it all. You'll save tons of money. You won't have all this overlapping overhead. And everybody gets one bill. Because if you have 10 pieces, if you own 10 pieces of property, you're going to get 40 tax bills instead of getting 4.
Yeah, and that's just a mess.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about water. I mean, I think it's sort of skyrocketed to the forefront recently. It's something that has been talked about forever. A secondary water source has been talked about forever. All of a sudden, you have Monterrey without water, rationing water to a few hours a day. Zapata almost running out of water. There's doom and gloom predicted for us.
Yeah.
I've heard estimates of in how many months we'll be in that same situation. All of a sudden, this takes on a whole new urgency. So we're going to run out of water from our sources that we have. Plus, we have a decrepit aging water system that seems to break down every few months. Mm-hmm. And then you have a defective new water treatment plant that is argued wasn't even necessary. They should have invested.
We've gotten so many lawsuits with the Pico water treatment plant. Yeah.
Exactly. So and a lot of the arguments about holding off on this binational part, for example, is that dude, we need to tackle this bull head on, the water issue, the secondary water source, and the aging infrastructure before we do anything else. I think that you agree that is certainly the case.
Yeah, and if you look at my platform that I'm, on my website, the first thing that's the most important before I even get into taxation, because I group it, is water. Yeah. And one of them is a secondary water source. Some people talked about desalinization. That somebody mentioned that to me the other night. Mm-hmm. Then you have the Carrizo aquifer, they're talking about that. But you're gonna go and I gave it I call it the binational Carto River Park. It hit already, And the reason I say that is because you have Nuevo Laredo's very, it's in a state of, there's a lot of insecurity over there.
Of course.
And so how are you going to build a park that's going to be 1,000 acres, 6.3 miles, and you're going to get all this water from the river, and you're going to start irrigating? Look, let me tell you what the basis of my campaign is. We're going to go back to the core functions of government. Yeah. What are they? Police protection, fire protection, the water infrastructure, road infrastructure, and public health. That's it. Yeah. I'm going to make government so boring. I'm going to get it.
I don't think that you and boring.
But getting there is not going to be boring. Yeah, getting there is going to be tough. It's going to be. Yeah. But I'm going to make it to where we need to master those 5 disciplines. And until you master those 5 disciplines, you have no business investing in boondoggles. Not right now. You need to do those first. And I have a track record of getting things done, because if you look at what we did when I was there from 94 to 98 under Saul Ramirez, and then Betty came in and took over after that. I served 1 term, and then I went to Austin to work to help raise my daughter, because she had moved over there when I got divorced, and I went to work for the comptroller and the Secretary of State as a Border Affairs coordinator. Look at what we did. We built the World Trade Bridge. We did that under us. because my name is on all those commemorative plaques, okay? The police station, fire training facility, Laredo Public Library, the airport, the metro station, 4 recreation centers. We even negotiated the 50 acres that we sold to Mercy, or basically gave to them, to build a hospital. The inner loop, that was us. But the loop hasn't even finished. What have they done since then, other than the arena? Nothing. They haven't done anything. And in fact, they've just ruined the water, because they privatized our water. That was the biggest mistake they made when I left. They privatized it. They thought it was a great deal, and they walked away. Why do you think the United Water left?
Yeah, I
because
remember.
they saw that the heating infrastructure was going to cost them $1 billion and they weren't going to make any money off of us. So they left. Then they build this water plant, the Pico water plant, and they get involved with Danabom. And some of the same people that are running, they're lucky they didn't get thrown in jail or indicted, because you saw what happened with Danabom. I mean, so that's what was part of the Pico water treatment plant. So what I want to do is I want to remove barriers and create economic opportunities, and I want to get government out of our face, because I went to speak before the Kiwanis 2 days ago, and after the meeting, people were just telling me businesses are leaving Laredo. And you know why they're leaving? Because it takes forever to get a permit. You can't get anything done. We need to get government out of our way. Get it out of the way. They are part of the problem. Get it out of the way, and let the people and bring some industry down here. I have plans about what I'm going to do if I get elected, because my main focus is going to be on economic prosperity. Because if most of the jobs are with the private sector, with UISD, LISD, the county and the city, and then you have the federal government, Homeland Security, if you don't get a job with one of those entities, you basically starve in Laredo.
Well, that and
unless you're in the brokerage
and
or
the transportation. Yeah,
no, we need to open it up.
So it's a one industry town, and then government, basically.
Yeah. And that's why you have a lot of corruption, because everybody's fighting for those coveted, government jobs. Everybody wants them, so everybody's fighting for them.
Well, there's some of the best paid.
And they play musical chairs with them. And then you have, one of the things that bothers me, you have some members that work at Webb County, but they're elected to the council, or they sit on the school board, but they teach at LISD, but they sit in the UISD board. I mean, it's insane. That's what I call playing musical chairs, and it's very incestuous.
Well, there's a political class that comes up through those ranks, and they end up running for these different offices, and then they hire
it's a mafia.
Their family, cousins, they're the cañoneros, the relatives.
Yeah, it's an industry. I mean,
but I mean, you're talking about a lot of these people aren't qualified to hold any of these positions.
That's another thing we're talking about. Corruption breeds incompetence. Incompetence breeds corruption. You start putting people there that aren't qualified, and after 10 years, you've got the whole government is full of incompetent people.
Yeah, and the worst part about it, and we heard recently at City Hall when Zulema Ortiz went up there and complaining about a toxic work environment.
Yeah,
there are a lot of good employees that sort of get passed over for the top jobs, for the well-paying jobs, because those are reserved for this political.
It's a class. It's a political class.
Yeah, exactly. And I think at City Council, for example, you have some regular citizens, school moms, professionals.
Yeah.
But then you have a lot of members of these political class, and the interest is preserving that status quo and rising inside.
And if you go against it,
quo.
They will come after you. They try to destroy your life, and that's why nobody speaks out. People say, why don't they speak out? Because most of these folks either work for one of those 4 or 5 governments, and if you're a teacher, they won't even renew your contract.
That's right.
I've got teachers sending me photographs that they don't have central air conditioning, so they put these portable units, but they're too noisy, and, it's not conducive for learning for the kids. And then they tell me, please don't post it because if you post it, they're not going to renew my contract.
Or there's a lot of retaliation.
It's horrible, man. Something needs to, it needs.
The culture needs to change.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping that I tell people, look, give me the information. You tell me whatever you want. You can be a whistleblower. I won't expose you, and I'll protect you. I'll take the hits, and I think that's why I have a lot of following because they know I'm not. I don't have the same fear that everybody else does. I've already been hit so hard that you don't feel it anymore. They did a lot of stuff to me too. A lot of stuff.
What do you think is different from the early '90s, which, that was pre-internet. That was NAFTA was about to kick in. Everything was in the works. Laredo just underwent this dramatic boom, growth. But then it's sort of been, like you said, sort of stagnant.
It's falling apart. It's like it's collapsing. People are leaving.
A lot of the young people.
The crown is starting to look ragged. Doesn't look clean. It's not going to be fun. Whoever's the next mayor is not going to be fun.
Well,
it's going to be. I enjoy it because for me, if it's not challenging, I get bored.
Yeah,
I'm real cerebral. More intellectual. So I like to solve the problems. But you need to know that you're not managing the city. That's not your job. Your job is to formulate public policy and be the oversight committee of the government,
Yes.
And that's what you need to do. But these folks, they think they're little city managers, and they start calling department heads, and that's not legal. It's illegal. You cannot do that. And you can't call them and berate them and bully them. There's a lot of bullying going on. There's too many bullies.
That's what I hear. Well, the issue also, Poncho, is that the city goes out on this nationwide search for city managers, for example. And the qualifications are you have to be eminently qualified. You need to have PhDs and certifications. You have to be a really smart, well-educated person. And because you are, and because you have the relevant experience, you're going to get paid $300,000. So you have people from all over the country that have managed big cities, bigger cities than this one, applying in good faith, thinking, well, I'll go down there and I'll try to make a difference in Laredo, you know. But they're shams. They already know who they want the city manager to be, and it's a member of that political class, and the deal that is made with them is that you're going to do what we say or you're gone.
And, the mayor invited all the candidates to go to this workshop. Yeah. It was a 2-day workshop. So I called the mayor up to talk to him about it. I said, what do you need me to? I said, what do you need me to do? What do you need any help? What is it you want me to do? He said, no, I just want you to go over there. So I went over there. I said, well, as long as you let me talk. So I went over there, and I read him the riot act. I told him, look, you've gone through 5 city managers in 7 years. You don't have any credibility whatsoever. If you'll hire somebody right now, 3 months before the new mayor and council comes in, that guy's not going to last. You're forcing the new council to work with that person.
Yeah.
Don't hire anybody. And another thing I told him, whoever does the hiring, we elected you to go and do the interviewing, look at the resumes, and interview these folks, and then hire them. No, you create this ad hoc city manager committee. It's a sham. I told him it was full of cronies. Former city council members who sit on various committees, on duplicate committees. You have people who are board members of the LISD. Their role is to select a superintendent, not a city manager. And I went down the list. I said, it was full of cronies. And then you just rubber stamp who they appoint, which is basically who you wanted. But it was your way of having a layer to protect yourself by saying, oh, they chose it. It was independent. It was never independent. It's crazy. And I said, and there's already rumors who you're going to put. They said, who? And I started mentioning it. Look, you can have a PE degree the way the charter's written. Yeah. You can have a PE, a physical education degree, and get selected as city manager. But what you need is you need the experience. And there it's hard to get it. That's in the charter. That's the provisions there. So if you don't have the experience in government, you cannot be hired. And they wanted to hire an attorney that has no government experience. I mean, look, you do that, and I'm going to go to court, and I'm going to file a lawsuit, and you're going to end up in court. I told him that. You're going to go to court because you need to select someone who's qualified. Another thing that needs to happen, if you're going to select a local, and I don't have a problem with selecting a local as long as he's qualified, but don't give him a golden parachute. Those golden parachutes, even the consultant that came in that conducted the workshop, he said those golden workshops are basically for candidates who are going to move with their family across the country. And if you get rid of them in 2 months, they have to have an incentive to come down here because they're taking a risk. But you don't do that for a local. For a local, there should be no golden parachute. You're not going anywhere. You're going to stay in Laredo. So whoever gets hired at the local level, we shouldn't give them a golden parachute.
How many golden parachutes have we given out in the past?
Already five managers in 7 years. I mean, we came out on Forbes. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Somehow they skewed the numbers because what they did was they put the buyout, and with a buyout, it looked like these guys were making $1 million a year. It was crazy. I mean,
But you have you have these people who are supposed to be very well qualified in running cities. That's their expertise. That's what they've done before. And then you have city council members that have nowhere near the experience or the education, and they are micromanaging the city manager and department heads, the people with the expertise, dictating who they should hire, who they should fire, who gets the contract, who doesn't, who gets promoted, who doesn't. And it's just unbelievable, man, because you see the results.
You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to form a power faction.
Yeah.
And I've gone through that, so I know what it's like. I was in the minority for 2 years. It was always 5-3. And then 2 years later, we had the majority. Yeah. And it's very hard to keep the majority together because you're not going to agree on everything. But what I want to do, if I get elected mayor, is I just want to listen to all the stakeholders, let them talk. They have the power of the vote, but I control the flow of debate because I recognize you.
Yeah.
So I can keep the order, and at the end of the day, I'm just going to preach morality. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And if I see that you're out of line, I'm going to call you out on it. But that's not what's going on right now. Everybody's scared. I'll call you out on it. If I see that you're doing something that's unethical, I'm going to call you out on it. Yeah. I'm going to do it. And that's the only way. You have to lead. But I basically just want to be the moral compass, what I was doing. That's really what you need. You need a mayor who's very strong, has a strong backbone, who's principled, and is going to listen to everybody, be fair, but at the end of the day, we're going to do the right thing and put everything on the table, nothing behind closed doors. Because all these people, they make their decisions in smoke-filled rooms, so to speak, you know. And then they come back and they pretend that we're going through this democracy, and it's already been a done deal. They give the same contracts to the same people all the time, and that's not fair. We need to spread the wealth.
I wanted to ask you, and we talked about the park, for example. I remember, and we've talked about this before. Laredo used to be a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And especially shoppers from Monterrey and the interior. I mean, we used to have, this used to be the mecca for that. I remember growing up when I was young. That sort of dissipated, went away. And I mean, you could make the argument, well, Nuevo Laredo got really bad, and it did. And but I mean, McAllen certainly has prospered all these years in terms of becoming that center of attraction, and
they're beating us badly.
Big time. And so, I mean, you do have to have a combination of quality of life, attract foreign investments, attract companies, attractions, and things of that nature. Invest in stuff. That's not part of what you had described, the water and the law enforcement and all that. Yeah. I mean, is it a goal worth going after, and how would you do it? And another thing, and I mean, I hate to be bringing this up all the time, but for example, I mean, you have a thriving industry, the 8-liners, which are in every major intersection of the city. These establishments are there, and
somebody told me that the county said that the state had made them illegal. Somebody told me that yesterday, that they were watching the county commissioner's court, and that the judge had mentioned that they were illegal now. I mean, I didn't see anything in the paper on that.
I'm
not aware that they're illegal, are they? I mean,
I'm not sure, but but it is understood that they don't operate under the top prize that you could get is $5.
Well, you know, when I came back to Laredo,
you know,
we used to have gas stations, and then those gas stations turned into loan sharks.
Yeah.
So it's gas stations were you know, these little
predatory lenders.
Yeah. And it had a lot to do with the maquinitas, because a lot of these people lose a lot of their money. You know, I had a friend of mine that saw an old lady, senior lady, crying outside, and she goes, "Why are you crying?" She goes, "Because I lost my rent. My husband's going to be upset," she said. She started saying that her husband was going to be really upset at her. So, you know, people lose a lot of times. But then if you take away the maquinitas from these people, maybe that's, you know, sometimes if that's the only form of entertainment in Laredo,
well, I mean, what is evident is that nowhere are they as prevalent as here in terms of, there are some, but they're tucked away. Here it's major intersections, but
the politicos are involved in that too.
What I'm getting at is that if we want to attract foreign investors, we want to attract these companies, these entertainment companies. They scope out cities that they're looking to invest in, man, and they scope out the quality of life for their executives that are going to be moving down here, their managers, etc. And I mean, when you have situations like what happened to the Laredo Lemurs investor, for example, from Mexico City, which basically got scammed. It was a premeditated scam. And you touched on it in that a lot of these, they are mechanisms to defraud investors, to defraud the taxpayers, to defraud.
They're just, I keep saying that look, it's $1 billion when you get
$1 billion pie.
It's $1 billion budget, basically, when you get the consolidated funds, all of them, not just the general fund. When you have $1 billion on the table, everybody wants a piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. And the leechers are there. And it's always the same leeches. And they have their scams, like we were talking about with some of these, you know.
The Canseco house.
Oh, man, that's another stupidity. Then, you know, or else someone buys like the old Mercy Hospital and they want to flip it to the government. But so far they haven't been able to do it. And they just have scam after scam. And what they're doing is they're making us poor as a community. Right now, if I get elected, I-35, I'm sorry, it's going to be 8 lanes. 4 lanes going, 4 lanes coming. And I'm going to get it done. Yeah. And I don't want anybody to tell me I can't get it done. That's federal. No, I'm going to get it done. Enough is enough. That should have been. Why is it we're the largest inland port in the United States? And we're always bragging about that distinction that we have.
Yeah.
But our infrastructure doesn't support that. It doesn't reflect that. In other words, it doesn't reflect that we're the largest inland port in the United States. Look, before I got into politics, I worked for Sony for 8 years. I worked for the Maquilas. I went to Tokyo, to Japan on business for Sony Corporation. And I happened to go into China, and I went to Shenzhen. And I went to these 2 special economic zones. They were all on bicycles. Look up Shenzhen today.
Yeah, I know Shenzhen.
It's unbelievable. Everything's made over there now.
Yeah.
I should have just stayed over there.
You know, it's crazy.
I probably would have been a billionaire. I mean, and I went over there. I went across the Pearl River in these private boats, these jet boats, and we went over there just to see what the Chinese were doing. They were experimenting with capitalism, and they were taking the long view. And you should see them today, man. It's a powerhouse, man. Why is it Laredo can't be like that? Why is Laredo the same? You know why? It's the political class you and I have been talking about. They're holding us back. Laredoans need to come out and vote. Stop voting for their compadres, their friends. Vote for people who are qualified, who have an ethical backbone. You know, that's what needs to happen, because this election is probably one of the most important elections. People always say that, but when you really think about all the problems that we have right now, it really is.
It's at a boiling point.
Oh, it is.
It's frustration.
We're at the crossroads right now.
Yeah.
Something better happen. People better wake up. And I think I've been waking them up.
You have been very, very effective in doing that, and
But
you
I
have
know,
a very.
I know not everybody's on social media. My mother tells me, no, but mijito, not everybody's on social media. I said, I know, I'm gonna have to go out of social media and start spending money on ads here and there. And this election, you could already tell the interest groups, the very wealthy class that wants to come here and buy the election because they want something. They want something.
Well, I mean, they want the status quo.
You know, yeah.
They want to be able
and
to
they
do
know
what
I'm
they've
not the
done.
status quo. I'm
Yeah.
coming in to change things, but changing things for the better. Trust me, if we follow my lead, you won't recognize Laredo when I leave it. You won't recognize it. It's not going to be this. It will be more prosperous than it is right now. These people are holding us back. And the reason they're doing that is that if they keep Laredo small, they can control it. Yeah. Once it gets too big, they can't control it. You can't. It's very difficult for these folks to thrive in this corrupt environment that they have created when you bring in outside companies. They're not going to put up with it.
Yeah.
Outside, and I'm talking big corporations right now. Right now, they're fighting that company, the pollution.
Yeah, I forget the name. The surgical something.
So it seems like they're always, Laredo's just always. We need to bring back pragmatism, common sense. That's what we need to bring back into government. It seems like these guys, I think there's a lot of unstable people right now running this government. Yeah. They try to accuse me of that. I go, gee, I mean, you think you're the one that's crazy. I mean, look what you give yourselves a pension plan and you think you're stable? I mean, you're unstable. Look, there's a big problem right now that they're using so much of the bridge funds. The bridge funds are our cash cow.
Yeah.
The county's cash cow is oil and gas. We don't participate in that.
Yeah, and it's much smaller.
And they're using a larger percentage of the bridge revenues to balance the general fund. We need to wean ourselves because you're not going to have much money left. After a while, all of the bridge money is going to be going to balance the general fund. And really, those money should be used for capital improvement programs, And the other thing is that that they're not creating enough jobs to support the kids that are coming out of here.
Well, the kids
are leaving, brain drain,
man.
I mean, they're all leaving.
Yeah.
They're all leaving Laredo. They don't want to be here. And you know why they don't want to be here? Because they can't stand the politics. It's not because there isn't anything to do. That's another separate issue. They don't like the politics. They don't like the nepotism that you and I have been talking about. They just hire their friends. It's they hire incompetent people.
Yeah.
And it needs
to. What happens when you graduate at the top of your class, you go to TAMU, you get a degree, you come out, you apply for one of these positions, and you don't get it.
You don't get it.
Because it's reserved for the primo of a councilman or the son of a politiquero or something.
That's
like
what
that,
it is.
Man.
And
and in decades of this.
And it's systemic. It's been been that way. Like the other day I brought out that they were advertising that the UISD was using slush funds, which I didn't even know they had discretionary funds like the council.
God, man.
But they do, and they were putting advertising on the bus of themselves. And it didn't say elect so-and-so, but they were political ads. That's what they were.
Well, I mean, the city
and they brought
does
it
that
out,
like
but that's
crazy.
the way we've always done it. Well, wow, that doesn't make it right. Just because that's the way they've always done it.
Well, it's become. I think it's becoming more pronounced, and I told you the term, bread and circuses from the Roman times when the emperor would give them gladiators in the Colosseum and food and stuff to keep the people entertained.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't complain.
And talking about the Roman Empire, I do a lot of reading. I collect books. That's really been always my hobby. I have thousands of books. And you know what kept the Roman Empire together? What kept the Roman Empire together was an array of infrastructure. They were the best builders of roads.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do here. We need to invest in the water infrastructure, get a secondary source, and improve our roads. I-35 looks like a county road.
Yeah.
The inner loop, they wanted to put a bridge in South Laredo. What are you going to do with it? The inner loop's going to be like the Mines Road. It won't support it. I'm sorry. You got to get the outer loop. You got to get I-69 completed. The brokers don't want to go there. You can't even finish completing the inner loop, much less the Mines Road. Look, somebody got killed the other day. It was horrible.
It was horrific.
Yeah, I got photographs of the person dead there on the street. I didn't want to publish them out of respect for the family. Yeah. It was horrible. I said, so we need to invest in the infrastructure. We're a port, and we don't have a world-class infrastructure.
Well, speaking of, what's your opinion on that elusive bridge that we have been in the process of building since the World Trade Bridge got completed?
You know, let me tell you what.
And in the meantime, the valley has built at least 3 or 4.
Well, when we were there, I kind of wanted a bridge in South Laredo. That's where I wanted it.
Yeah.
But the powers to be back then said no. You know, and I didn't have the votes. They said, we're going to put it on the Mines Road. Why? Because the president of Mexico and our governor at the time built Camino Colombia, the white elephant.
Carlos Salinas de Gortari.
And we should have said, no, we're not going to do it. And so, well, if you don't do it, you're not going to get a bridge. But we should have stuck to our guns and said, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to build it in South Laredo because that's upstream is where we get our water from. No. But we caved in. So then when we came in, we had to build World Trade there to basically kill Colombia.
Okay.
That's why it was built. And to kill the toll road. Because everybody was terrified that we were going to be bypassed.
So and I mean, that was the intent.
So that's what happened. We got and we had to get the World Trade Center. So we created all this traffic problems on the Mines Road, you know. And we got rid of the trucks that were backing up all the way on I-35.
I remember that.
But
that was
now
dangerous.
they want to do one on South Laredo. And the reason we haven't had one is because there comes what happened back then. I was talking to former Mayor Betty Flores. I didn't know it was her idea, but she confessed it was her idea. She went to the county and said, why don't you partner with us? She came back and they chewed her out, told her, no, you can't do that. And so it was her idea when all along I thought it was Carlos Villarreal's idea, he's the one that planted the seed with Merck's father, who was a county judge at the time. Yeah. And what did they do? They wasted millions of dollars in consultants, attorneys, feuding with each other. The county has look, I visited more bridges than any of these people when I was a Board of Affairs coordinator. Some of the bridges are owned by TxDOT, some are owned by the county, some are owned together. The county has no business getting into bridge business. Why? Because they cannot issue revenue bonds like we can. We can issue revenue bonds and we don't have to raise your property taxes because the other bridges are going to finance it. They don't have that. So they're going to have to tie to ad valorem taxes and raise your all's taxes. That's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. So they can't afford to do it. Second of all, they're just going to politicize it. You know, the county's the last bastion of patronage. They really are. They're really bad at it. So they have no business building a bridge with us. They need to let it go. They really do. But their excuse is that they're looking for an alternative source of income. Well, if that's the case, well, then why don't you give us some of your oil and gas? If you want some of our bridge revenues, give us some of your oil and gas. Their oil and gas is in the billions. Yeah, I'm talking the valuations. We don't get any of that. Yeah. That's their cash cow. You go to Austin, you know what their cash cow is? They have their own utility plant, their own electricity.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody has their cash cow. Ours is the bridges, the county's oil and gas. Hey, we don't want your revenue. Don't come over here messing with our revenue. We're the same. We're the same. At the end of the day, Webb County is Laredo.
Yeah, there's even been
same taxpayer.
So
all they did was waste all this money fighting each other. That needs to stop. We need to stop fighting from each other. And what I was telling you the other day, I think the reason you have so much corruption in Laredo is because we don't love each other enough. That's why we steal from. That's why everybody's stealing from everybody. And I'll tell you one thing about me, and that's why they don't have anything on me. I don't steal from our people, and I don't lie to our people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell it the way it is. And I know not everybody's going to like it, but I'm going to do what's fair. And listen to everybody, but do what's fair. And I think that's what people want. They just want someone who's fair and someone who's not going to be hiding things from them. And just tell them what it is. You know, say, look, this is, I mean, and I don't, right now they're fighting me with every time I file an open records request, they send it to the Texas Attorney General. And I beat them on every one of them. The one I haven't been able to beat them on yet, because the law protects them, is the Water Master Plan. Why?
Okay.
Because if it's in draft form, they can. But I called the attorneys. I go, but it's almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in February. We paid them $1 million and we still don't have a water master plan. He says, well, you're gonna have to sue them, which I'm getting ready to do. But I think by then I'll either be the mayor or and then I'll get the plan. But they won't even give me the water master plan. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you hiding? And then they hire a former council member who now is running against Mercurio Sr. Jim Mares is running for him, and they pay him $160,000 to be the spokesman for these consultants, water consultants. He doesn't know anything about water. So why did they pay him $160,000 to be the spokesman? This is the kind of stuff that's going on. It's cronyism. It's making us poor as a community. It needs to stop. It needs to stop, and I'm going to stop it. I'm not going to put up with this. This is not right, and it angers me to no end.
Oh, yeah, man.
It just really just...
Well, I mean, and we've touched on it.
And
the pie that they're fighting over and the pie that they rip off with these contracts and is the tax monies that people pay, their property taxes, sales taxes, like every time that somebody says, man, taxes are so damn high, but we have to pay them ni modo. Well, that part of that money went to some sketchy ass contract for someone to pad their bank accounts and to buy whatever vacation homes or I don't know what the hell they do with it.
Like the HEB building, I was getting ready to sue them on that. And I have it all here. It's a beautiful one. I still, I may just do it. I'm not happy, but then the statute of limitations might kick in. But let me tell you, they flipped that property in 3 weeks. Yeah. And the owner made over $1 million in 3 weeks. You mean to tell me that from 3 weeks, you buy the property and then you flip it to the county and you make $1.2 million in 3 weeks? Come on. That was an inside job, and I can show you what they did. I mean, it's bribery. It's campaign contributions. They're bribes disguised as campaign contributions. I can show you what they did. I went in there. Even HEB was fighting the Webb County appraisal. They hired top-notch attorneys, to fight the appraisals. And then I called HEB because the girl, the lady that's the PR person for them and manages all the lobby contracts used to work for Hilco in Austin, and she's a friend of mine. Yeah. She told me, we would have given you all the building.
That's insane, man. And
she said, we would have given it to you if you all just would have, So, I mean, isn't it insane?
But I mean, it's insane that none of the, very few of the elected officials are fighting to take care of these monies, which is the taxes that regular citizens pay for them to have a well-functioning government.
Yeah, it bothers me, and it's a good thing it bothers me because the community's benefiting because I'm the one speaking about it, but it really angers me. I don't know what,
It's all right to be angry about
I just don't like... Man. I don't like that these people are stealing from our people. They're stealing from our...
But it's so entrenched and so accepted, and the citizens...
And they do it because the people are scared. Tienen a la gente aplastados.
Scared and apathetic, Poncho. Yeah, because, I mean, you see these schemes. They're complicated schemes. They fight to keep the information private. Citizens, I mean, they see what they see in
and they accept it because they're apathetic, or they think that they become cynical. They say,
cynical
it's never going to change. And the other day I told a lady, well, I'm running for mayor, and I gave her my card. She goes, she started telling me that you're just going to be like the rest of them, and because I guess she didn't know me, but that's the attitude they have. They think everyone that comes in is going to be like the previous administration.
Well, I mean, it has been.
And it's been that way, right? So I'm hoping to break that paradigm, to go in there and break it and go in a completely different direction. And I understand the budget probably better than most, and I understand the city charter.
And I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of good people that are citizens, that are school moms, that are just retired people, that are doctors, lawyers, that are sick of the crap.
I think right now they really are.
Yeah.
It's at a tipping point.
Yeah.
It really is. They're upset. I know I've kind of stoked the flames with my writings because I've tried to wake them up, but they are upset. They see things are not, it's bad right now because of the inflation around the country. People are struggling. Every time you go to HEB, I came out yesterday. I go spent $140, and I said, well, what did I buy? Where's the food? Where's the food? I still got to go back right now and buy some cat food.
You unpack it, and you're like,
what did I get? Man, a few mangoes, a few bananas. And, you know, it's just crazy. And there's people suffering, and I feel it. You know, when I was in the council, I remember going into a home. The floor was full of, it was a dirt floor.
Yeah.
It was a dirt floor. I mean, it was emotional.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, man.
There's some people that are suffering.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of people suffering, and you know, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's got into a boiling point, but at the same time, I'm optimistic in that there's a lot of good people out there running, and there's a lot of bad ones. And
yeah, you know, this time there's a lot of people right now. I'm excited. There are some good people out there right now that are running. I think that if we can get these people in, you'll have 4 new members.
All of them are open
and
seats.
And a new mayor, that's 5. And, you know, you got 2. One, Marte decided not to seek re-election.
Yeah.
Then Merck is going to decide to run for mayor. So you really have you know who? You're going to have 3 members that are only going to have 2 years experience. And only Albert Torres is going to be the only one there with 6. So it's really important that there's people elect me, because I'm going to go in there with the city council experience, one of the most progressive council we've ever had. I've been fighting corruption all my life, and then I work for the state, and then I work for in the private sector. I never leached off the government like these guys that have worked for the county and now they want to run. So it's going to be important you get a mayor that knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's going to be chaos. If you think it's bad now, it's going to be worse. Because you're going to get 5 new members. You better have a person that has a lot of knowledge and who's very strong. And I have a very strong will. But I'm going to be fair. You know, that's what I want to be fair, hear everybody out. And it's about being fair. You know, and people always say, well, life isn't fair. Well, you gotta work to make it fair.
Of course. Poncho, we're running out of time here. We've been going for close to an hour now. Let me just do a couple of the sponsors that have signed on to sponsor the program, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, let me just, I told you this is all new equipment, so I need to figure out how to.
Well, I'm impressed with your setup here.
Thank you, man. Thank you very. Yeah, I've been working on it for a while, and it's been a long slog, but it's all new equipment, top of the line. Everything looks and sounds great. I heard it yesterday, so it's good stuff. First of all, a candidate for City Council District 6, our good friend Vish Vishwanath, who's been in the trenches fighting for a long time as well. Thanks to our sponsor, Vish, a candidate for City Council District 6. Vish is the small business owner who has taken a stand on various issues facing the city. He will prioritize our water needs, keep our taxes in check, take a strong stand against corruption, and will get citizens involved in the decision-making process. Want different results? Make a different choice. Vote for Vish. Our good friend, Javier Mendoza, from Mendoza Maintenance Group, Javier Cuate Mendoza. He's also been a very passionate advocate and fighter for a lot of city issues along the years. He was a candidate for District 6 last time. He isn't this time around, but he's still very involved. And his company, Mendoza Maintenance Group, has been in business for over 20 years, cleaning a lot of big buildings, office buildings, you name it, not only here, but all over Texas.
Well, he's one of the ones that got,
yeah,
hurt in the UISD. What they did to them was not fair.
Yeah. He was one of the bidders, and
wasn't fair.
That wasn't fair at all. And our third one, our good friend, attorney and former city council member George Altgeld. Laredo's premier criminal defense firm, the Altgeld Law Office, relies not only on its years of experience and proven results, but also makes use of cutting-edge forensic scientists and has a team of private investigators to defend your freedom. I know George personally, and he has always fought to keep the government honest and to protect the rights of citizens. That's what he did when he was a prosecutor, when he was an elected official, and that's what he will do for you or your loved ones. And a final one, I don't have the logo for it, but he is our good friend, attorney Rene Benavides. He was a former city attorney, and before that, he was a prosecutor with the district attorney's office.
He's another one that left.
He's another one that left, yeah. He does personal injury, criminal law, immigration work. Great guy, and he will be on the show from time to time to give us opinions and advice about legal issues that we need clarification or just to learn more about. So those are our four sponsors: Attorney Rene Benavides, Attorney George Outgeld, Mendoza Maintenance Group, and our good friend Vishwanath, who's in the middle of a very intense fight for District 6, just like the mayor's race. There's at least 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah, there's some
in that race.
That's going to be a fun race. That one and the mayor's race are the really interesting. Well, you got some good ones in the South too. It's going to be a battle.
It's going to be the South ones are very interesting. Those are just completely different.
And you have
dynamics.
the school boards. God, it's a lot. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a busy time.
Yeah, the school board, that UISD issue, the contract itself. I don't think I've ever seen a level of interest in the UISD board as I'm seeing right now, and it's directly as a consequence of that contract. I think it opened a lot of people's eyes in terms of just the brazenness and the magnitude and then voting not to terminate it, even though the backlash has already started.
It's like they did it's just unbelievable.
It's so what are you gonna do about it? And they're counting on the same apathy that no matter what happens, they're gonna get elected. Nobody's paying attention.
I think they're gonna be in for a rude awakening. I do.
I certainly hope so. It's sad when it's money that is meant for the education of our children that's being just
that's what's happening.
Like that.
They're hurting our kids, And I put a post the other day, a commentary where it showed that test scores go lower when the level of corruption in the community is higher.
Oh, there's no doubt.
There's a correlation, it's an adverse effect. If the corruption's high, test scores are lower.
Well, and then you have the issue of like teachers being overworked and underpaid and money's being pilfered by...
No, they're not. I got so many teachers following me now, and I think they're underpaid. I got 2 of my sisters work in the school district, and they were telling me, I think right now we need to focus on our teachers, the kids, but you got to stop the bleeding at all levels of government. Yeah. And I think I can set the example because I think the mayor's position, a lot of people say, well, the mayor's position isn't that powerful. It is very powerful if you know how to use it.
Of course.
You just need to preach the morality, the ethics, set a tone, and I think everybody will follow you. But you have to set an example. And I'm not saying that Pete hasn't done a good job. It's just that, it just didn't. He shouldn't have voted himself a pension, put it that way. So there we go,
Yeah, and I mean, he did not have the majorities in council that would be needed to really shake things up and clean things up, and hopefully, with the results of this election, we'll finally get a good mayor and a majority on council of people that just want to do the right thing, that people that are going to be watching out for the citizens, not their campaign contributors, not their developers, not their compadres, not their cousins, not their citizens.
You're there to serve the people. That's what you're there for, and stop trying to line your own pockets, because that's not what it's about.
Exactly.
These people are lining their own pockets, and it's obvious what they're doing, and we need to put a stop to it. So, but I want to thank you for inviting me, and I'll be out there, campaigning hard, hitting the streets. I'll be, people can go to my website. I'm going to be posting it, cassoformayor.com.
Okay.
And I'm going to just be out there trying to get people to vote for me, because that's, I do care about, what's my brand? My brand is, I've been opposing this corruption, and I have solutions. And I really do love the people of Laredo. And it may sound cliche or corny, but I'm doing it because I love the people of Laredo, and I love this city.
Yeah.
I love the city. I want to build some type of a veterans border museum. Laredo has a lot of history, and I love this city, but they're running our city to the ground right now.
I agree.
So,
well,
hopefully people will wake up.
I think that this hopefully will be the year, Poncho. Poncho, thank you so much. Great show. I mean, it's just what I was envisioning a show with you to be. You nailed it. You delivered on all fronts. Very interesting, very insightful, entertaining, you name it. We're going to put this on Facebook. It's going to be on YouTube. And we're also recording the audio so that all you podcast lovers can listen to it, just the audio version, on Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, Google podcast. So you can listen on the road, listen on your phone, wherever. So we're going to get that going. And appreciate it if you would spread the word. We're back. We want to get as big of an audience as possible. We're going to be doing multiple shows a week. And our next show is going to be a bunch of these candidates that are going to be running for the United Independent School District that are very, very, have a very strong message and a message along the lines that we've been talking about today, which is we need a change. It's urgent. Poncho, any last words before we sign off here?
Well, just spread the word. This election is very, very important. Spread the word with your friends, your family. I think I think we can win it. I know that everybody says it's going to be a runoff, probably going all the way to January.
Yeah.
But I think we can win it. I really do. I sense it. If people spread the word and get out there and vote, we might be able to pull it off with 51%. That's what I'm hoping. Either way,
it's going to be tough, man.
It's going to be tough. There's 10 candidates,
and I mean, you're up against Flipper and Kobe Bryant.
You gotta. We don't even know who these folks are, but they're just going to muck things up. But hey, it's a free country. Whoever wants, I think this is the largest amount of candidates for mayor ever. 10.
Yeah, well, not only that race. I mean, there's a lot of participation, a lot of larger participation. I think in
all the other races, including the school districts. So that's good.
That means
that's a sign that people are not happy.
Exactly.
They're upset with the way the system is going, and hopefully people will. I think there's going to be probably over 50,000 people going to the polls. You think so?
Let's hope so. Yeah. There's a.
I think it's going to break a record. That's what I think. I think it's going to be like a presidential year.
Let's hope so. We certainly need that amount of enthusiasm, especially people that haven't participated in the past. And now is the time to really get registered and get out there and vote, because we need your vote this time. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thanks a lot,
Poncho, and
appreciate it.
I hope to see you back here soon. I really enjoy your opinions and how you present them, and I think people need to listen to what you got to say, so I'll be inviting you on here.
Well, thank you, and you got a lot of candidates to invite, because there's a lot of, people need to hear everybody, to see what everybody has to offer.
That's
so
right.
It's important that they all come out here and communicate with the people, because a lot of these folks, they just hide, and that's we need a full-time mayor. That's what we need.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody who's going to be out there full-time.
Well, Poncho, thank you so much. On behalf of Frontera Radio, thank you for tuning in. Spread the word, and we'll be back soon. And God bless you, and have a good night.
Good.